Coulson, I'm the editor of Total Carp magazine. I'm back in the studio with Mark Cole from Sonubaits, and we're going to be looking at the oily floaters. Easy for me to say, but look, you know, I'm actually quite excited about these because I'm a failed surface angler. I don't do a lot of surface fishing because I'm not very good at it.
Right, okay.
But part of that is the whole bait thing. Now, I think you might be answering a lot of people's prayers with these. So just talk us through them, Mark. I know you're a particularly prolific surface angler. You've done a lot of features for us in the magazine, and you always catch, which is something that really stands out. And I think you're quite happy that this is part of the reason.
I love it. It's transformed my floater fishing. Last year when I first got hold of them, I was always trying to find something a little bit different, a little bit special, a little bit, as every angler does. I got my hands on these, and literally it does transform your floater fishing.
Right.
The feeding response you get off the fish is a lot stronger, a lot quicker, and because we've got all the different sizes as well.
So in a nutshell then, what is it? Is it just an oily floating pellet? Is it that simple, or...?
Not far off. Without giving any trade secrets away, it's a pellet that's oil impregnated.
Right.
So you get attraction all the way through the pellet, so it's got a long release
right,
time
so it's
scale
not
on
just
it.
like putting a bit of oil over the top of some
Exactly,
mixes
yeah.
and all that.
Yeah, exactly. It's right the way through. And the other thing it does, it changes the structure of the bait completely. If you have a look at the 11s, for example.
That's the 11mm, that's the
11.
the middle size.
Yeah, that's the middle size one. You can see just by squashing it how soft they become.
Right.
Which is fantastic, because you ask any match angler that's worth his salt, he'll tell you that carp prefer soft baits.
Right.
It's just easier for them to eat them.
Excellent.
And they just
that makes sense, I guess, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's just
and do they soften up even more once they're
They
in the
will
water?
do, yeah. You'll find that they won't be on the surface long enough, though.
Right.
Like,
as in the fish eat them
yeah, the
that
fish will
quickly.
eat them that quickly.
Brilliant. Do you get like a sort of slick on the surface?
Yeah,
or,
you
or
do.
From a,
Yeah, you do.
Because that in itself can attract them, can't it? And I've found as well that if there is a little bit of a slick, sometimes it's a little bit easier to be more selective about the one that you're trying to catch.
It's swings and roundabouts with me, really.
Right.
Sometimes I really like the slick. Depends if it's a really prolific water and you're trying to pick out the bigger ones out of a big group of fish in front of you, then yeah, it's beneficial.
Right.
But sometimes if you're fishing for cagey fish, you don't want the slick to be there to that degree.
Okay.
Because
Right.
if there's a little tiny bit of chop on the water, it disguises everything a little bit better.
Right. Look like your hook link material.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it just makes the fish
that's a
makes the
good
fish a
point.
little bit more clumsy.
Right.
Because they actually have to make more of a conscious effort to go for that one bait.
Yeah.
Typically, if I turn up to a lake and there's fish on top, what I want to do is be able to get them feeding as quickly as possible but without disturbing them. And the 8mm are perfect for that.
Oh, that's where the smaller size comes in.
Get them feeding on the smaller size first of all. It tends to
Yeah.
provoke a quicker response than feeding big baits over the top.
Right.
It's also a little bit more quiet as well, so if they're not 100% up for it, I'm not going to spook them at all. Just keep the fish nice and calm,
Excellent.
get them feeding on that. Once they're feeding and showing interest, then start introducing and mixing in the 16s and the 11s as well.
Right. Why would you do that? Why would you up the size on them?
The best way to describe it is like if you're fishing over a bed of hemp, fishing a little bait in amongst it, the fish aren't moving very, very far and they're regulating the suck and blow and everything like that. So if you're using little 8mm baits, you normally put in a pouch load out and they'll sit in an area like that.
There's quite a lot of baits in a pouch.
Exactly, there's a load of bait and the fish will just sit there underneath and just pick away. Ideally what you want to do is try and create a boily fishing situation on the surface where the fish is picking baits off and moving.
Right.
It just makes...
It makes perfect sense, and although it does make sense, it's still a little bit clever. You know, I like that. It's good.
Yeah, the baiting situations on floater fishing, I don't think people think enough about. They'll quite happily get the fish to feed, and once they're feeding, that's it, that's game on.
Well, even further back than that, how many times do you see people, all they do is just buy a bag of chum mixer and off they go, and really they don't have any more idea other than it's a floating bait as opposed to bottom bait, and
Exactly.
they don't really look into it any further than that.
Yeah, it's just a waste of probably half your good weather season.
Yeah, right.
Sort of like from now all the way through till sort of like September. You'll have chances on the
Bearing in
surface
mind,
during the day.
obviously we're shooting this here, in early May,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's definitely a summer product, I guess. What about in terms of hook baits? Would you actually fish these as a hook bait, or would you fish other things amongst them?
Yeah, you can do. If you've got them feeding on the 8s, by all means, side hook or band on one of the 11s or even one of the 16s if you want to.
Right.
My preference is to get the fish feeding on the mixture of size baits, try and get them on the bigger baits as well so they're moving around for bites.
Right.
And if, for example, if they're feeding strongly on the 8s, if you're fishing a heavily stocked lake with small fish in it, you can get away with using like a size 12 Corum S3 hook.
Right,
with
so a small but strong hook.
Yeah, and it's got a beak point as well. I think that's, although with a straight point hook you're going to prick more fish, with a slightly incurved point, you may not prick as many, but you're dictating where the hook goes in the fish's mouth a lot more.
Right.
So you'll
tend not to fall off.
You'll
I've
prick.
heard that a lot, particularly with barbless hooks. Actually, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, definitely.
So what about what's the biggest size? 16 mil. So you wouldn't feed those in quite the number that you would feed these, and again, would you be happy if you use that as a hook bait? You could kind of step your hook size up.
Exactly, yeah. If you've got the bigger baits in amongst there, then it gives you more options on hook bait size and hook bait choice, and hook sizes, which is quite important. If they're feeding heavily on the 8s, you can get away with the size 12 S3 with one of the little 9mm artificial floating trout pellets.
Right.
If you can get them feeding on the 11s, it gives you the option to go up. So with the smaller of the two of the size fake mixes you can get on something like a size 10, then you can go up to a size 8, and the larger of the mixes if you've got them feeding confidently on the 16s.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It increases your options.
It does, yeah.
It's the same like you say in any fishing. If you put all your eggs in one basket, then obviously your options are narrowed down.
Just making life hard for yourself. You're not leaving yourself any room to move.
Right. So okay, I noticed that there's a nice day's worth of baits there, isn't there? Really? Because again,
definitely.
They're the 8 mils. There's hundreds upon hundreds in one bag. I noticed that the bags are resealable as well. So I guess if you've got some left, you can keep them. But more importantly for me is often when you're floater fishing, you could find yourself moving around the lake quite a bit.
Definitely, yeah.
So just zip it back up. It's not going to get knocked over in your bucket or on the floor and you waste it,
don't waste anything. And
actually, I like the fact that they actually sit up like that. If you're sat, feeding a fish, you just hand down.
Exactly. You don't even have to look.
Straight in.
You don't even have to look. Once they're open like that, and they're sat next to you.
In a bag that's fallen over, etc., etc.
So it saves a lot of time. Saves a lot of fussing around.
Excellent, terrific. Well, as I said at the beginning of the film, I know you're particularly keen on these, and also I know that you're a particularly good surface angler. We've seen that from the features in the mag. So, I think anybody out there wanting to give surface fishing a go, I think would definitely do well to check these out.
Definitely, yeah.
Great stuff. So there you have it. Sonubaits oily floaters, 3 sizes, perfect surface fishing baits throughout the summer and possibly beyond. Check them out at your local tackle shop. I'm sure it'll be well worth the effort.